The Bloody Podcassacre with Zac Walters and Kennedy Catherine.
Have you been waiting to do that?
Yeah. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Very well done. I just realized my sunglasses are on.
That's okay.
How can you tell I just left a happy hour?
Hair's a little wonky. Sunglasses still... They weren't on your face.
I'm
they
a
were
little
on your head.
Flushed.
No, not bad.
Oh, good. I was feeling a little flushed, but then I sat in some AC for a while.
And now you're back not in AC. Although I have found that it is been cooler in here.
Also, it's not going to take us very long because we're here for a Shark Week specific episode. We're here to be celebratory.
Yes, even though Shark Week is
over.
It's Shark Week for us. Also, Shark Week can be Shark Week whenever you want in your heart.
As you know, it's always Shark Week in the heart of my household,
Yes.
where we are watching shark documentaries round the clock.
Yes, although I've never been there when you guys have watched one.
I wouldn't say it's a shame point for us per se, but I wouldn't say we're exactly marketing that as something that we do.
Your roommate does.
Does she?
On Instagram, all the time.
She also made a big Instagram story about her Shrek vinyl purchase. Apparently, it was a big hit. I didn't see it because I rarely go on the Instagrams, but I'm happy for her. We did listen to Smash Mouth this morning as we made coffee.
It's a great album.
I'm not going to lie. It's pretty banging. You know what else is banging?
What?
The Jaws theme song.
Yes, but also annoying.
It's a little overused, I would say.
One thing that triggered a weird memory watching this movie. This was the first time I've seen it.
Okay.
Why were shark tooth necklaces
early
a
2000s.
huge thing?
Up there with puka shells.
Like, why was ocean life wearable art?
And I remember, like, specifically wanting one. But one with, like, the dainty wire wrapped around. I didn't want, like, a thick...
Or, like, the rope ones.
Yeah, no.
I also remember, like, I had a shark tooth in, like, a small canister from, like, Mexico. Never been. Someone got it for me. And it, like, had sand in it.
You know, I do think that... I don't know, really, the cultural relevancy of Jaws when it comes to tourism. How, when you go somewhere, you're like, oh, it's a shark tooth embedded in some cement. Or in this tiny vial, I better bring it home.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jaws necessarily impacted that. I don't know if that was something that was happening before. But Jaws definitely impacted shark hunting.
Yes.
In a big way.
I did Google why shark tooth necklaces were huge.
Oh, tell me.
It was a long time, like, symbol of protection.
Okay.
And so a lot of the people of Hawaii, like the native people of Hawaii, used to wear them as protection, and that there was a legend in their storytelling that was a god destroyed a sea monster and then wore a tooth. It kind of carried on that tradition, and that's how it started. A lot of surfers also still wear a shark tooth for protection. It's like what's that medallion people carry around? St. Peter?
St. Michael?
Similar to that.
Yeah.
But then in the 1970s, after Jaws did come out, they were more popular. So
that makes a lot of sense. We'll get into more of some specifics around how Jaws affected basically sharks in general. But it is funny every time I think that you look at something that is such like a sort of blasé cultural thing, like white people wearing shark teeth. There's always some significant cultural reference that is actually very beautiful for Indigenous people or people of color that we've totally trampled on and just ruined.
Everything.
We've ruined everything.
One thing that I noticed in this film is that the Amityville area...
It's Amity Island.
Right. But of course... What other place could it be that this bad thing is happening?
I know. I knew immediately that it was New England, though.
Yeah.
Immediately.
I was like, great. Massachusetts.
Lobster rolls.
I have nothing else. Salem.
Maine.
Anyways, should we dive into a little plot?
We should.
Even though it's long as hell?
Well, here's the thing. So...
Sharks come. Eat.
To be completely honest about what's happened here today, I wrote my notes and my synopsis on a computer that I don't have with me. So I don't have what I wrote. However, I really don't think that we need to do a large breakdown of the draw synopsis. I will just kind of give you guys the play-by-play as I remember it, and I watched it 2 days ago, so it should be fine.
I watched it like 2 hours ago.
Right. So our main players would be the police chief, Martin. Then we have it's like an ichthyologist, but it's like the ocean.
What was his name? Oceanographer.
Oceanographer. His name is Matt. So Martin and Matt. And then we have like a grizzled local fisherman, Quint. So those are our three main players in this movie. Mm-hmm. So what happens is a young woman is attacked by a shark at night. In the morning, her body is found, and they want to report this to everybody, but the mayor of the town is really concerned that this is going to affect tourism income. So the economy is going to take a hit from this because it's summer, and that's how they make money.
And it's 4th of July coming up.
Right. So he's like, can we not do that? Can we just say it was a boating accident? He's reticent, but the chief of police does do that. But then the oceanographer, he comes, and during the autopsy, he's like, okay, except for, no, that's not right. This was a shark attack.
So the fact that autopsy, he was like, and so in a normal autopsy with a body intact, it would come full-sized, whatever that means. Like,
right.
Head
come
to toe.
Intact.
Yes. They pulled out a tub.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, let's play it off as a boating accident. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then he pulls out an arm, just a bit.
Just a woman in pieces.
Yeah. In a tub. A Rubbermaid.
That's not how that works.
No.
Unless you got hit by a propeller. Doubt it. Cut to 4th of July. A kid gets attacked. Right? That's what goes down?
No.
Yes. Or is somebody killed before that?
The little child.
Right. Little boy.
Isn't the series of events, woman gets attacked, they try to say something, then the boy gets attacked.
Right.
And then the oceanographer comes in, and then we have the man attacked.
Yes. Either way, we're just breaking this down simply. It doesn't,
Yep.
the series of events, quite honestly, doesn't really matter. Because what it all ends up in is like, there is this fight against the mayor and the chief of police and the oceanographer who want to do the right thing. But the mayor of the town is like, hey, this is going to massively affect the economy. Let's just... meh. So then people keep getting attacked by this shark. And the oceanographer is like, this is clearly a great white shark of substantial size that we maybe have never seen before. And they hit up the grizzled ship captain.
Good old Quint.
Quint, take us out on the Orca, his ship, and let's go catch me a shark. And that is essentially the rest of the movie. They go out on this boat. They get drunk.
Yeah.
Compare scars. They try to bait this shark. Couple of close calls. And then at the end of the movie, they put Matt, the oceanographer, down in a shark cage to try to bait him. And what they're going to do is they're going to spear him with some sort of sedative and kill him.
While the boat is also sinking.
Right. The shark comes, attacks the cage. He drops the harpoon, spear, whatever.
Yeah.
He gets out of the cage, goes to the bottom of the seabed because the shark can't get down there. Then the shark attacks the boat. Grizzled ship captain Quint falls into the shark's mouth, essentially.
Yeah.
And then...
There's literally a slip and slide into the mouth.
Right. And as Quint is doing the slip and slide into the mouth, the chief of police, Martin, throws like a compressed air...
Oxygen tank.
Oxygen tank, thank you. Into the shark's mouth, shoots it, shark explodes. Mm-hmm. Magical ending where Quint is dead, but Martin, chief of police, and then oceanographer Matt...
Comes back, he's like, you know what? Heard the boom. Back to the top.
Let's go. And they start paddling towards land. And then the movie cuts. My thought was... One of the last lines is Matt says, what day is it? And then Martin goes, it's like Wednesday or Tuesday. And I thought to myself, imagine you go through all of this and it's Tuesday and you have to go to work in the morning.
Yeah.
Because it's a Tuesday.
Or Wednesday.
Like, what are you going to do? Take off the rest of the week?
I would hope that people would maybe allow that, but no, because guess what? Tourism's happening.
Capitalism.
Some notes.
Yes.
So Matt, our oceanographer,
Yeah.
when he walked in on the scene, I was like, this is quintessential Canadian saying they want to be a marine biologist, goes to school, comes back, head to toe denim, some Keds, and like a fisherman's beanie.
The facial hair.
Yes.
He was a cute man, though, I will say.
And when he had his glasses on, and then I think he had those ones that they like tied around his ear so they wouldn't fall off if he was, you know, examining something. To a T.
This man is from Vancouver.
Yes.
He did try to start a banjo band before this.
Yes, but he decided fish. So, liked him as a character. But then also I was watching and I was like, I feel like you and I are Brody and Ellen, who is, so the captain and his wife.
Yeah.
The police chief, not the captain of the boat. Except I think that I'm Ellen and you are Brody.
In what way?
I feel like Ellen, she's just kind of like there, but she's not like the center of attention. She's kind of just in the back, like smiling. And
she's very
like,
well dressed.
Yeah, and she's like, no, but yes now. And then she's like, no.
Yeah.
But then Brody is like, get it done. Do this. We're going to shoot something. This is Kennedy and I.
It's kind of beautiful.
Have you seen the other ones?
I know that I've seen Jaws too, but I have no recollection of them.
Apparently, like, it continues on with Ellen.
It does.
And I did not know that.
It's true.
Nor will I probably ever watch them.
I might revisit them some year someday, but I don't know about that.
Just, like, generally, what were your thoughts of this movie?
The main takeaway from this rewatch for me was that regardless of these sort of, like, overacting, maybe some slight poor characterization of both characters and a shark, the effects in and of themselves are actually pretty good.
They are very good. And you know what? I knew, like, going in, it's this mechanical shark that they made. Shark is what I fully just said. It's this mechanical shark they made, and that it's not going to be realistic for 1975. However, there wasn't a moment until, like, the very end when it's more up close, like eating Quint, where I was like, okay, I can notice that this is fake. But the rest of the time I was like, it's still very well done because it's just in passing, like, shots, or it's side shot of the eye of the shark. So it's not like anything where I was like expecting to see it swim fully underwater. And the blood was good, and the, like, even the prosthetic, like, arms that they had, that floating head at that one point that popped out of, was it a boat that sunk?
Yeah, there was like a sunken vessel that they went to explore, and a dismembered man sort of popped out. Well, even like the improbability of Quint having slid literally directly into a shark's mouth, I didn't find that scene was overall bad.
No.
And there's a scene where there's a shark attack, and it's sort of one of the more sort of like obtuse in-your-face moments of gore is when this guy is attacked and his leg, they have this shot of his leg falling down into the seabed. I thought that was extremely well done.
Yeah, like, obviously it's a real shoe on it, but, like, the leg looked real. I was pleased overall with, like, the gore. The only thing that I didn't really care for was the last half. Like, when they're on the boat, I kind of checked out after a while because it was so repetitive and so long, and not a lot of... There was nothing really to move the story forward other than waiting around. And so it's kind of just bored. But, like, the first half where it was like they were by the water and they were, you know, there was other people being eaten and there's all these characters, I was very invested into it. I was hooked, one might say.
How dare you. There's a really good building of suspense in the first half when you're not really sure what's going to happen. On the 4th of July, there is this shark sighting that just causes absolute chaos. And as it turns out, it's kids playing a prank. That sort of stuff is really good for developing this sort of adventuristic, thrilling plot. And then as we get into the later portion of the movie, when they're just on the boat, it's a little more like, okay, let's land the plane on this.
I did feel it was very... Because it's not... Part of this movie is horror, but it's also very, like, action adventure. And I really felt the adventure part when they were on that boat. It felt like there was moments where when Quint was on the tip of the front of the boat, that little walkway they had, and he had his harpoon gun, and it was like Indiana Jones music, like, style. I was like, what is happening? And the boat's going, like, full force, and they were just, like, into the sunset. It felt just out of place.
There's a lot of just, like, cross-genre happening. So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So there's different sorts of criteria when you break down a film to try to figure out what genre it fits into. And a lot of scholars have written about Jaws and its effect on the film industry, also its effect on the fishing industry, all of that. But one of the big questions is Jaws a horror movie? It is classified as a horror movie. But in terms of subgenres, there was this scholar who argued that given just the criteria alone, instead of just like a creature feature or even like a horror thriller, it fits more under the slasher genre. How do you feel about that?
You know, like, it pretty much is.
Mm-hmm.
You have one antagonist slaughtering people, which is like essentially a slasher film, where there's like not really a motive.
But it also
it.
feels like, even though there's not a motive, I think the thing for me that kind of puts it into the slasher is that it's a very, like, intentional, targeted attack. Like, the way that the shark is in the movie is not, to me, I don't equate it to a shark. It is its own vengeful creature, in a way, that is targeting these people with some sort of meaning behind. I don't know how to explain it, but I can see some logic in that.
Or do you think that he's just hungry? A hungry boy?
He might just be a hungry boy, but sharks don't like the taste of people.
True.
And he continuously comes back. Like, when he starts attacking the boat, it's like, enough.
The boat's already halfway in the water.
At the part where he'd already eaten Quint and then came back, what more could you possibly take? How much more could you eat?
It's because Bruce, the shark, knows it's that bitch.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
She is the moment. One thing I noticed, and this is very, you know, of the time, it's a very masculine movie. Because we have our three main male characters. And even, like, in the beginning, it was like, when the son died of that woman, and then there was an offer for $3,000 for the killing of the shark, on the board, I noticed it says, any man or men who can bring it. And I was just like, just say anyone.
1975.
I know.
Can't apply a 2021 moral standard to 1970s films.
True. It just also was like a good old drinking game for these people. It was just a bunch of drunks going out on a boat, catching some shark.
So, yeah, you asked me originally, probably 10 minutes ago, what was my general sort of, like, summary of my feelings. What was yours? Like, I can't even tell right now. Did you like it or not?
I liked the first half, and then the second half I could have done without.
Okay.
I wish it was better paced, and I wish that it wrapped it up a little bit sooner.
It is over 2 hours. Like, probably they could have done it.
While it is, I think, a good closer and that it's a good ending, I feel like it also could have been better. It could have been more like, I don't know what I want from it, but I didn't get what I need from it. But I still liked it. So those are my feelings.
Okay. So Jaws is clearly an iconic film. Everybody knows what Jaws is. And it's had a lot of cultural impact, like, in film as well. But it had a very adverse effect on sharks. It also widely misrepresented great whites. So one of the things that I found a quote of was the director of the Florida Program for Shark Research said, a collective testosterone rush certainly swept through the east coast of the U.S. Thousands of fishers set out to catch trophy sharks after seeing Jaws. 50% of the eastern seaboard of the U.S., 50% of the sharks' population, went down in the years right after Jaws came out. Because not only did people take it upon themselves to go out and try to catch trophy sharks, but people who were, who owned property on beaches, even like towns committees, would tell people, they would offer up rewards for people to catch sharks because they thought that it basically promoted that they were quote unquote safe, that they were going to keep people in the area safe from what had become all of a sudden like an imminent
threat,
evil force and threat, even though it clearly is not. You have a better chance of getting struck by lightning, dying falling out of a bed, than you do by ever encountering a shark in your life.
And especially coastal United States, like the last of places that I would really think.
Right.
Like even when they were on that beach in the movie, I was like, there's no way. They're like wading in the water.
Yeah, that's one thing that I also took like continuity issue with, is the one part where there's the two men and they're on the dock.
Yes.
And the shark comes up. The shark, at the size and weight that they said it was, could not have come in that close to shore that shallowly at all.
It would have got stuck.
Yes.
Spielberg, what's up? That's just... I don't understand why people think that works of fiction equate to real life. Like, especially when it comes to things like horror or things like thrillers, or like where people have to take like a piece of something that is completely false and make it true. Yeah. But I guess that goes for all when you think of ghost movies.
I think there's just a very literal interpretation of what people are seeing most of the time if they're not thinking too hard about it. But even so, Jaws is based on a novel,
which I didn't know until I was doing some research on this movie.
And the novelist, Peter Benchley is his name, has expressed regret because he has said, I didn't know anything about sharks. He based the book on a thing he had heard about a shark attack in 1916 off the coast of Jersey, I think. And he was a writer, but he had a day job. I could be remembering this slightly incorrectly, but basically he'd come up with a number of different ideas to pitch to his publicist, and it was his publisher, and it was his last attempt at trying to make a go of writing. And he pitched a couple of these ideas. For whatever reason, they were like, the shark idea sounds great. So he wrote Jaws without any sort of
like research
background information. He had this sort of huge cultural negative impact on sharks, even though he knew nothing about them. The one good thing that came from it is that because it created this investment and interest in sharks, there was a lot of money put towards research afterwards.
One thing that I also was looking at, like that history of from the 1916 attacks, which was 60 years prior to the movie coming out or the novel being released, is that typically sharks avoid humans, but that there was only 1 or 2 times in recorded history that a single shark perpetrated multiple attacks on humans.
And this was one of them? Like the 1916 attack?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I thought you were meaning Jaws. I was like, this is a movie.
You're like, Kennedy, we just talked about this.
That 1916 attack was only 1 of 2 times where one single shark had attacked more than one individual. So...
Do you know anything about the attacks? Like, did it happen, like it was one day, or it was one shark that attacked multiple people over the course of a time?
Well, so one was in a town where a 10-year-old boy was killed on July 12th while swimming inland more than 10 miles away from an ocean bay. Although that only says one boy. So I don't know if more people were injured, but maybe just one was killed. But that's like the only one that I kind of know was like along the New Jersey coastline in 1916, and which they mentioned that in the movie as well.
I just found a quote from Peter Benchley that says, "Knowing what I know now, I could never write this book today. Sharks do not target humans, and they certainly do not hold grudges." And then there's another quote from Dr. Julia Baum, who was a biologist who did research. And she said that between 1986 and 2000, in the Northwest Atlantic, there was a population decline of 89% in hammerhead sharks, 79% in great white sharks, and 65% tiger sharks, which was not down to sport fishing as much as it was by commercial fishing.
That's insane.
And for shark fin soup in Asia, which is a huge problem.
Another thing, though, that George Burgess said was that animal populations, much like humans, sometimes have deranged individuals.
We're just exchanging quotes now. A zoologist from Harvard said, "We are not afraid of predators, we're transfixed by them," which I think is very interesting. We are, quote unquote, prone to weave stories and fables and chatter endlessly about them because fascination creates preparedness, survival. In a deeply trivial way, we love our monsters. And this is something that we've talked about too in just like when we talked about Faces of Death, the movie, and like snuff films. Like, why do people like it? Because we're fascinated by these things, and it is on some level preparing yourself for this thing that you can't possibly know anything about. Oh, in reality, only about 10 people a year are killed by sharks, usually by great whites, but they're not usually eaten. They just die of trauma because a shark will clamp down and be like, oh, I don't want that. Send them other way.
It's very interesting also because when somebody is attacked by a shark, it is national news.
Yes.
Like, I can think of that surfer. What's her name? Bethany.
Oh, I can't remember.
Who lost her arm.
Soul Surfer?
Yeah, Soul Surfer. And yes, it is very traumatic.
But it's because there is this weird societal cultural fascination with them that I think is largely due to media just like this.
Wow. Do you know what's the one thing I was writing down while I was watching the movie? The beach scene where it was, I want to say it was the, like, July 4th when everybody came off the boat.
Looked amazing.
Yeah, it reminded me of, like, the whole coronavirus pandemic.
What?
We shouldn't have anybody, like, in big groups. We shouldn't have people out here. People don't listen. And then...
They get what's coming to them.
They go into the water, and then they start freaking out when people are dying.
Right.
And then they still don't listen.
Right.
Sign of the times, Jaws.
Also, like, where do human beings get off wanting to kill off a population of animal in their ecosystem because we went in there and got hurt?
Yeah. Multiple times.
Like, then don't go into the fucking ocean if you don't want to take a risk. Do you remember fearing sharks as a kid? I do.
Yeah.
I used to be scared they would come in the drain when I was in the bath.
That's a lot of people's fears. I never had that, but I was always scared, like, pools.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like they'd be in the deep end.
Lakes.
Yeah, bodies of water.
Yeah.
And where we live, never.
Not a chance.
But yeah, it's like one of those things that when you were growing up, it was like drilled into you that you were going to encounter a shark. It's like also a thing where it's like we were drilled into fear black holes.
Yeah.
Have we? It's any
lava.
Yeah, like all these like weird things where we are told, do not touch these or go near these things, but you will never encounter them.
I've also been listening to podcasts about like stranger danger and human trafficking and how it is so rare for there to be an actual instance of human trafficking in the way that we think. Like, you'll be walking down the street and some person will come up to you and try to snatch you for... Like, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And the actual instances of like a child being snatched off the street from a stranger statistically is so low. Like, the amount of children reported missing and all of those things is so often someone they know, people involved in custody battles. All of these things that we were taught to fear are just these weird sort of cultural phenomenons and like misunderstandings of things that just get blown up.
And that's also what goes for murder.
Yep.
The statistics of you being murdered randomly in your house or by someone you don't know is so incredibly low. And so...
Instances of people just killing because they want to kill is not common.
No. And that's a serial killer.
We've made these things out to be like these imminent threats and dangers when they are just not. Sharks are not going to hurt you. You're probably not going to get murdered in your own home by somebody you don't know. And you're probably not going to get human trafficked just because you travel to another country.
But you know what? Black hole. It might happen.
But it's going to suck you in, so do watch out for that.
Speaking of space, completely off topic, did you hear the moon's wobbling?
I did.
Oh, fantastic.
We talked about that at work the other day. I hate to be this person, but I would love to have children. I might never. If I just die, then my lineage ends with me. So I don't need to worry about it.
It ends with all of us. It's not just you.
Well,
we're all going down.
No, but I mean, like, if you have kids, they're going to have to suffer the world that we create.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm just going out.
Although where we live, flat, no water. We're going to be like the last people, unfortunately.
Climate change is getting us, though.
I know. Can't wait to drown. Maybe the sharks will come get us then. Want some fun facts about this movie?
I do. Can I tell you a continuity issue that I found out, though?
Yes.
Do you know some already?
No, I didn't really look up any continuity stuff.
So the guy who loses his leg.
Yeah.
We see his boat flip. And we see his legs. He's wearing no shoes. And then as his leg sinks, he's wearing a tennis shoe.
Nice.
Amazing. Anyways, go for it.
Maybe they put the shoe on because it looked more realistic, and maybe the foot itself was just...
yeah, a nub.
Yeah, like...
They
or just like
super
glue.
Yep.
So... First fun thing I found about this movie is that the slate that they used in the movie, which...
Does everyone know what a slate is?
No. So a slate is like a clapboard, some people call it.
Like the black
sticks,
thing that they...
Snap.
When they start a scene.
Yes, which helps... There's fancy versions now, which are incredible.
Like digital ones.
Yes. But essentially what it is it syncs up the video and... the microphone and puts a spike so that you can line them up and then continue editing. In the movie, they decided that the flat edges were replaced with like fake shark teeth. So both the top and the bottom of the slate, when they closed it, it would be
A shark's mouth.
a shark's mouth, and it would just like clack.
I love that.
And I was like, I kind of want one of those.
Yeah, that's cool.
Imagine accidentally though being like, so there's a thing called soft sticks. You kind of just put your hand in and close it so that it's not. It's usually when it's close to an actor's face or really close to the microphone. Imagine someone being like, soft sticks, and they like go to do it, and then they just have like these little
Shark teeth
bites.
Imprints.
Kind of would like that.
I love that.
Do we care to know about good old Bruce? I feel like that's...
Tell me about Bruce.
So, Bruce, which was the actual name that they gave the Jaws shark in the film,
Right.
was a 25-foot great white shark that was played by 3 different full-scale mechanical sharks that they made.
Okay. Was there any interaction with real sharks for the making of
Yes.
Jaws? Ooh, interesting.
Bruce was named after Steven Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce Raymer, randomly.
That is a very odd connection.
I know. The crew named it Bruce. They must have had some weird... weird... So originally, Steven Spielberg thought that they would use miniatures to make the movie, but decided that they wanted to be full-sized and fully animatronical. Is that even a word?
Just animatronic.
Yeah. So they had 3 sharks, one that moved left to right, one which moved right to left, and then a shark sled, which is the photo I showed you, which essentially they had a crew who was in scuba gear on the floor of this ocean that they were filming in, which was only 30 feet deep. So they were able to get it in and easily maneuver it around. It essentially just like was on like hydraulics almost, and they had like a team like pulling and pushing it under the water, and then they were able to move that one back and forth.
Right.
I did read somewhere that the left to right one and right to left one, whichever way that you looked at the shark, it was like, or the shark faced on the screen, was like an indication of whether it was going to attack or not.
Okay.
But I never paid attention while watching the movie. But each shark had a steel skeleton to it, hydraulics to open and close their mouths, and air-powered pneumatic mechanisms that move various parts of the body. But there was a huge problem with all of them, and that they didn't work well with seawater. The crew would laughingly call the movie flaws because it never worked. But they like spent $250,000 on these sharks. However, Jaws, as we talked about, one of the things all I could think about when I found out that it was named Bruce was that in 2003 we had Finding Nemo, in which the shark is named Bruce.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting, and that it was a nod to Jaws.
It was?
Yeah.
I love that.
Because fish are friends, not food. Early this year, in 2021, they had the mold still of Bruce, and so they had a fiberglass shark made. It is now in the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in Los Angeles, and it's currently 1,208 pounds.
Holy shit.
25 feet long, and it's 45 years old.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
That is insane.
So yeah, now it's now available right now. If you live in the Los Angeles area, you can go see Bruce on display.
That's so cool.
I feel like that would be a cool thing to go look at.
Yeah.
And I also didn't know that there was a museum of motion picture arts.
We should go.
It makes sense that they would have one, but I would be so down.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
So another thing, this movie was not easy for them to make in the sense that they ran out of filming time. Steven Spielberg was writing the script as they were filming it. And this was his like first big movie that really blew up. And he made like one movie before called Duel, which was like, I guess fine, but it didn't get like critical reception until Jaws did. They did extra filming in Steven Spielberg's backyard in his pool. They did some of the cage scenes just in his pool, and they put a gallon of milk in it so that it looked more like murky and smart.
Very cool workaround.
A film set I worked on, we filmed in a pool instead of the lake because we ran out of time. I wasn't there for that day for that shoot, but we had this black velvet velour kind of tarp, and we essentially used it to black out all the windows outside for night so that when we were filming in the day it was nighttime. Right. And so they put it around the corner of the pool so that it emulated that it was nighttime in the water, and
Very
it worked.
cool.
It worked really well.
Awesome. Tricks of the trade.
Yeah, I'm one of those. Even though I wasn't there that day, I
Take the credit.
I take credit. So, real sharks in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
They did shoot some footage in South Australia.
Uh-huh.
So, Ron and Valerie Taylor work around like the dangerous reef in South Australia, and they used a smaller version of the cage. They made a smaller one, and they put a smaller swimmer instead of the real actor, so it looked like the shark was really big.
Right.
The footage of the attack is actually a real shark attacking the cage.
Did they entice it?
I don't think so.
Wild.
Everything was fine, but it's interesting that like that real footage is
Real.
somebody being attacked by a shark in a cage.
I would not have guessed that.
Another thing that was real is that the tiger shark that was hanging was a real dead tiger shark that they killed. Yeah, which was shocking. So they were trying...
That's a very, like graphic scene. Like, it's not, sorry, graphic is the wrong word,
but it's a very eye-opening...
Yeah.
Like, it's a very...
Well, it's very visual. Like, it's one of the more realistic scenes of any fish.
Because it is a real fish.
It's real. Got it.
Crew was pressured to catch a fish off where they were filming.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find anything that was big enough. So someone in Florida was able to capture this tiger shark and kill it. They had no way to bring it back to New England quick enough. So they bought it a private plane and kept it in ice. And then they hung it up for the scene. But since the shooting took a long time, the carcass was getting fouler and fouler as the days were going on. In the scene, you can see that a lot of like the like background actors are like just like smelling this rotting fish that isn't being kept well in the hot sun.
That is so nasty.
Speaking of extras, so residents who lived around Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts were paid $64 for a day to run across the beach and scream.
Hell yeah.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
I wouldn't even need the money.
No, I would just be like, sign me up.
Yeah, let me be in the back of this movie.
I will scream and run.
That's truly what I'm best at.
Yep, I can also say that. One more, which is kind of fun, and I want to know if you would ever do this, is for the 40th anniversary, which was a couple of years ago, in Austin, Texas, they did Jaws on Water, where they had this large tube boat thing where they played the movie in open water, and you went and watched it.
Did you float?
Yeah.
No. I have a fear of water, though, so...
Fair. Like, just open water? Yeah. You're like, I actually don't shower.
I've never showered in my life.
You look great, though.
Thank you.
I could never. That's also like going into a haunted house and watching a scary movie.
I think I could do that.
I've done similar
because
things.
That in and of itself isn't a pre-fear. It's
Fair.
not something I'm already scared of, whereas like water I'm already like kind of nervous in.
Fair.
So
but like if it was like an actors around in the haunted house and you're watching a movie.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. It would just be too much.
I think it would just be cheesy too. Like I don't think I would enjoy the experience.
Well, it's like going to a 4D movie.
Yeah.
Which I do not like.
No.
They're painful.
Yeah, they give me a headache.
When they jab you in the back and they whip your ankles.
Yeah.
Just abuse in a theater.
Don't like that.
Anyways, those are my fun things about this wonderful shark movie.
What I was thinking while you were talking, I love to watch videos of like abandoned place exploration on YouTube. There's a bunch of people who that's truly what they do. They just go find places.
That's also what you do.
Yeah, but I do it to a very small scale.
Right.
Whereas like there's people who do that as like their day job. And there is this video of this guy who goes and explores an abandoned property in Australia that was sort of like, it was a zoo of sorts, but the person who opened it did not have the correct permits to do it. And so this guy is walking around this abandoned property and he goes into this building and there is this huge tank. You need to look it up. It's so interesting. And it's interesting because he stumbles upon it in the video, so I'm sort of ruining it. But he doesn't know it's going to be there. And it is this huge tank, a water tank, that has a dead shark in it. And he's like, oh my God, like they left this shark here.
I've seen this video actually.
And it's Rosie the shark. And she's become sort of infamous and you can Google it. she had been dead the whole time, and they'd imported her. She was kept in formaldehyde, and when they abandoned the property, she's huge. Like, they couldn't get her out, you know. They just left. So she was still there, and she's now since been taken, and I do think she's been disposed of because she was not cared for properly, so I don't think she survived the afterlife. But it's very, very... It's a really interesting video.
Yeah, they did have her in a museum for a bit.
Oh, did they?
Mm-hmm. That's so strange. I do remember stumbling upon that video a while ago. Mm-hmm. It was recent, too, that I saw it.
It's not really all that recent that it happened, but it is interesting. Mm-hmm. Do you want to rate it? I really don't know that it falls within our regular rating system, but...
No, but we can. We can try.
Yep. Scary? Nah.
Like 2.
Yeah.
There was some moments where I was like, oh, I do not want to be in that water.
It was about a 1 for me. Like, there was the scene with the disembodied head that was a little like... Oh.
Yeah, because it also, like, was a jump scare. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Unsettling?
0 for me.
Really?
No, that's a lie. About a 3. I think this was very unsettling for original audiences. Obviously, it created a huge hysteria around it. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting thing. So when we did The Exorcist, we talked about how there was a medical condition. Oh, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a fear-induced hysteria from horror films. Mm-hmm. Jaws was the second account of that. A woman was watching it. She had sort of like a seizure of sorts. And they thought she was fine, and then a couple days later, she, like, hysterically just, like, kept yelling, sharks, 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 sharks. Yeah.
That's, ugh.
Yeah. So, clearly unsettling.
Yeah.
Story. I think it's a great story. 8.
I put 6.
The novel is more fleshed out. In the novel, the mayor has more incentive to keep the beaches open because he has mafia ties.
Oh.
So.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic tale. Classic shark tale.
Always. A shark tale. Great movie. Was it a paper cut or was it a bloody massacre? 1 lost leg to a shark.
I put a bump and bite.
A bump and bite is a good one.
A little nibble.
We love a Shark Week special. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. You guys know where to find us. You can find us at Podcassacre on Twitter, Facebook. Nope. On Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can send us an email at thebloodypodcassacre@gmail.com. Just so everybody knows, we have been getting emails. We do have requests that are sitting. We're just trying to compile them in a way that makes sense. So you can let us know in emails or DMs if you have any requests. You find us on YouTube at The Bloody Podcassacre. Until next time.
You'll never go in the water again.